Welcome, reprobate. You're listening to the Smith House Adventure Show. So now you've got the seed planted in your head. What do you do once you get to battalion to start training and preparing yourself with either courses or physical training or a mental kind of training?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I went to Winnipeg. That's where the 2nd Battalion PPCLI was located at that time before they moved to Shiloh, and got there in the summer of 1999. And then 2000 is when we were notified that we would most likely be doing a peacekeeping tour. At that time, Bosnia was still going on. So in 2000, we got a heads up, started workup training, and then 2000 and 2001 is when I deployed for the first time with the 2nd Battalion. That was in a peacekeeping tour in Bosnia. So at that time was really my first kind of exposure to some guys from JTF2. There was some dudes bouncing around Bosnia doing close protection. And I ran into a couple of guys that were at the gym and, awesome dudes, just having, very casual conversation. And they had said the same thing, like, hey man, you ever think about trying out? And that's when it really started to come to fruition. I was like, okay, I need to start getting things into order for this. And then I started to train seriously. I put in my application when I was in Bosnia for JTF2 selection. But unbeknownst to me at that time, I put in the paperwork, I gave it to my section commander at the time, and I just kind of thought, well, it's going to get processed and I'll find out when selection is coming. Long story short, the deadline had come and gone, and I went to my section commander. I'm like, hey man, I'm just wondering, like, what's going on with my application? And he's like, shit, I'm sorry, man. It's I never pushed it up. Now, there was a moment where I was like, what? Like, why wouldn't you have pushed my paperwork up? Like, that's like, I gave it to you. I put my trust in you. Anyway, I don't cast shade on that guy. He did what he did. It went on his desk somewhere and it never got processed. But it was a good teachable moment for me where if you want something done, you got to follow it through and you got to stick with it. So the next year, now I'm on top of it, and I'm going to go into two different phases of the next application. So the next application, this was now 2002. We deployed to Afghanistan for the first official, I guess, roto with the 3rd Battalion. So that battle group, so 3 PPCLI, and we had a company from the 2nd Battalion, 2 PPCLI. So we went in 2002. So 2002, during that time in Afghanistan, was training as much as I could with the thought of applying for JTF2 for the second time. And got to see a little bit more exposure from the JTF2 guys in Afghanistan. I was like, man, this is definitely it. I know this is exactly where I want to be, and that's what I want to do. So at the end of the tour in Afghanistan that year, I applied, put my paperwork in, stayed on top of it this time, and followed it through. And then a week before I was supposed to go on selection, I broke my wrist. And yeah, so I'm sitting with the BPSO, so it's basically like the representative from that particular battalion. So they're the ones that will control the file, move the file, and ensure that you're suitable for that job that you're trying out for, or that job that you're applying for. And when I sat down with the BPSO, she's like, yeah, you're not going to be, I had a cast on my wrist, and she's like, you're supposed to be, leaving, I think it was a week or a couple of weeks, not too long. But also my cast was set to come off in a certain time frame. I was like, well, maybe I can still get the cast off and then hit the last serial of selection. She's like, no, like, you need time to recover, and it's just not going to happen. So my file got pulled. So that was strike 2. So now fast forward, a full year goes by. I'm super motivated now. I'm going to do everything I can to be as physically fit as I can, make sure all the paperwork administration is good to go. I'm going to take care of myself properly. Long story short, 2003, did selection, and then was successful for JTF2. Sure. Yeah. So Randy at directactions.ca. That's an email. If people want to send me an email, by all means, I'll respond as soon as I can. Instagram page, Direct Action Combat. The YouTube channel is Direct Action Combat Performance, and Facebook Direct Action Combat Performance. So those are the social media feeds that are pretty active. If guys want to send me an email a little bit more personal and ask me direct questions, I entertain it for sure. And I really like those questions. I would say with caution, if I don't respond, in 2 to 3 days, please don't take it like I'm not interested. I'm just a busy dude, and I'll get around to it as soon as I can.
Thanks for your time. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help grow the show. And remember, get back up.